Oh, well, we approached the podcast. We're here. I think we're rolling actually, and thank you guys for tuning in. Boy, Jaguars' final preseason game was a dilly. You remember that old saying, "Dilly dilly." Jacksonville Jaguars 31. Atlanta. Is this microphone on? Come here. Okay, microphone is supposed to be on. Jaguars beat the Falcons 31-0. And then after the game, people say, well, the Falcons rested their starters. Well, why did they do that? I can't understand. Well, I mean, he hadn't played since the first preseason game, and he needed some work. You mean the Falcons don't need any work with their players? Got the college football ticker on the screen on YouTube. We'll mention this for our radio or audio only folks. I'm just amazed Florida State got beat by Georgia Tech. But, Florida State lost a lot of players to the NFL, including the Jaguars' third-round pick, the defensive back the Jaguars got from Florida State, who's, I think, going to be a pretty good player overall in the long run. But why did Atlanta rest their starters? Don't they need some work too? A win is a win. But like a lot of people say in our Facebook group, preseason doesn't mean anything. It's practice. We're talking about practice. Well, I'm going to tell you. I want to thank the old coffee boy getting me hooked up with a coffee. Starbucks French roast was on sale. I bought a big tub of what's the I can't think of the name of it right now. The big New York coffee, chock full of nuts. The dark version. They've got a dark version, and it was on sale. The big tub, the big barrel or big tub or can of the big can of coffee was on sale $9.99 at one of the grocery stores I frequent. Tip: you buy the coffee when it's on sale. Now, my executive producer says he just buys what he wants. I think he's a McCafe guy. Same stuff they have over at Mickey D's, and I think he finds that at the local Wally World or something like that. But on the ticker, and we'll mention our sponsors, Salsa Realty and Capital, the MadMaxMix.weebly.com, Lakeview Fall Hits.com, great internet radio where it's all good. College football scoreboard, Georgia Tech kind of stung. The Bees kind of stung the Noles. Georgia Tech 24, Florida State 21, a final on Saturday, August 24, 2024. Also on the same day, FAMU, the Rattlers 24, Norfolk State 23, a final. Hawaii late in Hawaii beat Delaware State. Hawaii 35, Delaware State 14, a final. Just a few. My gosh. On August the 24th. What you got, Lauren? It seems so early to play but here we go again. We're gonna, we talk about the ones that own college football from late August. It seems almost like mid-August now. We start seeing, got some games coming up. And it was a light first weekend. I think August 24th is not even considered the first weekend of college football. It's like the zero weekend. And then the first weekend is going to be August 31st. This is kind of a bonus weekend, right? The four-letter network owns the darn thing. They're doing what they want to do, and they're counting on the fans to hang with them. hang with them through the NIL, the transfer portal, major conference realignment. It's hard to keep up with who's where. When the California Golden Bears, I think they're in the ACC now. Stanford's in the ACC. The Pac-12 is the Pac-2. They're not really a conference. They just say the Pac-2. I've seen a couple of books call it the Pac-2, and you got Washington State and Oregon State in that one. Huge games coming up, and we'll talk about some of these huge games like Florida and the Miami, Florida Hurricanes play on August 31st. Georgia plays Clemson. And there's some other pretty huge games as well. We do have scores on our ticker. If you folks are watching on YouTube, you'll see the ticker with not all the scores, but college football score: Georgia Tech 20-24, Florida State 30. I'm sorry, let me back up on that. Georgia Tech 4, Florida State 21. Final on Saturday, August 24th. Does that game surprise you? And really, it's an upset because Florida State has a really good coach, Mike Norvell. I've always liked him. Georgia Tech beat Miami last year. Georgia Tech beat Florida State this year. We're talking about college football. You never know. I think I think if there's any good left in college football, part of it is, hey, what's going to happen? Let's see. Let's wait and see what happens. And a lot of people are going to watch. We're going to cover it. We're going to watch it. We're not going to watch all of it, but we're going to watch some of it. And when we come on with a podcast, we're going to mention some scores, especially here in the Southeast, and kind of follow Florida State, Georgia Tech, Alabama, Auburn. Alabama and Auburn are playing some podunk junctions the first week, too. I mean, Florida's playing Miami of Florida. Florida State's playing the Bumblebees from Georgia Tech. And Georgia's playing Clemson. But, man, I looked at who Alabama and Auburn's playing. My goodness. I'll pull those. I got those games somewhere here in where I've got all my stuff here. We're going to talk about the Jags. The Jags actually played on Friday. It was a Friday night game, and that might have been why some of the fans may have missed the game. They got used to watching the Saturday night games, but this was a Friday evening game. Jaguars won 31-0. We're going to take a look at the stats. By the way, on Saturday, August the 31st, we told you about some big ones. Florida, Miami. Florida Gators hosting at Florida Field. Florida Gators, some people call it the Swamp. Some people, Spurrier name is on the stadium too now. Florida hosting Miami of Florida Hurricanes. And what really surprised me is Miami's a 3-point favorite in this one. Miami's a slight favorite on the road in Gainesville. About a 3-point favorite last time I checked the line. Also, the podunk junctions that Alabama and Auburn are playing, and that's, Alabama and Auburn, I think particularly Auburn. Nothing against them, and I think they're going to be a pretty good team. They're going to be a surprise team this year, and I think out of the gate for Hugh Freeze, it's probably good they're playing Alabama A&M. Alabama Almighty, A&M. Alabama A&M at Auburn, Saturday, August 31st on the Plains at 6:30 p.m. for the Auburn Tigers, Auburn War Eagles, if you will. Alabama. Man, I miss Keith Jackson. Whoa, Nelly. Alabama's going to host the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. How about those apples? Saturday, August 31st, Alabama kicks off at 6 p.m. Alabama will host the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers in Tuscaloosa. Mark that down as a win for Bama. Some of the podunk junction. Alabama A&M. What's that team? Are they called the Hornets? I'll have to look up their nickname. Alabama A&M at the Auburn Tigers, Saturday, August 31st at 6:30 p.m. Georgia Clemson games early in the day. Florida, Miami of Florida. That's going to be a good one. 3:30 in the afternoon on ABC. We'll be watching. And that's some of what's going on in college football. We'll pull up the stats on. And how about the Jaguars game, man? Trevor Lawrence, we got to get some work in. And they did. pretty good coffee there, right here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast. And we're going to move into this is episode show 48, actually. 48. We did a 47, 47A, I believe, and now we're doing a 48. It's that time of the year again, college football. I remember my dad distinctly when I was a kid and a little bit older than a kid. Dad would say it's almost football season. He'd be kind of excited. And August 25th, he'd be saying it's almost football season, but yet in really the what do I want to call it? The in the people that own or run college football now, in the infinite wisdom. That's what I think I was looking for that. In the ones that run college football, here they are, they're playing college football games on August the 24th. Back in the day, college football was meant to be started in September. First week of September, that was my opinion. That's my opinion still. So Florida's got a tough one with Miami. Miami's even a 3-point favorite, and they're going to Gainesville. We'll see what happens. Billy Napier needs that game bad. Georgia, Clemson. That's a couple of good teams. I mean, Georgia's a real good team. They're going to be ranked either number 1 or number 2 in the nation, depending on what poll you look at. Georgia's number 1 in the SEC. Clemson now has got to be considered number 1 in the SEC. Now that the Bumblebees tamed the Seminoles, right? Started stinging the Seminoles when they were cooking the Seminole stew, the Seminole squirrel stew or whatever they eat in Tallahassee. Nothing against him. I think Mike Norvell's a really good coach, and I think he's having to probably compensate for losing some players to the draft. But Georgia Tech, they're nobody to mess around with. They're really not. They beat Miami last year, and they're going to sting some people. They're not going to beat everybody, but Georgia Tech's going to sting a couple of teams along the way, and they seem to be kind of on the climb right now. If I'm Florida, I don't want to play Georgia Tech. Florida State did, and they lost 24-21. It's on the ticker right here. Georgia Tech Bumblebees, Georgia Tech Rambling Wreck, if you will. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets 24, Florida State Seminoles 21. Florida's a ranked team. They may not be ranked in the next bowl. Losing to the Bees, the Bumblebees. Georgia Tech 24, Florida State 21 of finals. So college football is, how do we say, underway in the infinite wisdom of the 4-letter network. I'm going to be watching games mainly on ABC. The Florida-Miami game is on ABC, and I'm definitely going to watch that one. 3:30 coming up, this coming Saturday now, Saturday, August 31st. We appreciate you guys listening to our podcast. You can find us at bigjreport.com. Scroll bigjreport.com. You'll click on links and what have you. And we're on all the major platforms with the podcast, the audio version of the podcast. And hey, we're on YouTube also. College football season underway. I'll show you this picture. I don't know if you can see it, though. Let me see. One of the. Oh, that is. You're not seeing it very well the way I've got the pictures. Well, we'll show it another time, and we'll probably post a picture of Chris Collingsworth. It's actually a Polaroid of Chris Collingsworth. When I attended, it's hard to see Chris. Let's get that on here some way, somehow. Man, can't quite show it. I'll have to show it another time. It's just some technical issues. But I apologize. We'll get Chris up in the platforms. It was a Polaroid that. Yep. That's amazing right there. Weapon. Okay. Well, we'll have to get back to that juncture later. Man, how about that?